let's get into it. So again, my name is Spagna. For more than 20 years, I've been helping humans and animals to align with Source, to come into alignment with our ideal and optimal state of living. And that includes really everything from a conscious and unconscious perspective, our knowing, our beliefs, our energy field on all levels and layers. What do I mean by that? Well, chakras are energy centers, all levels and all layers. We have a mental level, that's a mental body, an energy body of its own. We have an emotional body, that's an energy body. We have a physical body, obviously, and that's a body. Then we have a spiritual body, we have energetic layers, we have a light body. We have way, way more dimensions of our consciousness that we're not fully accessing. So when I say healing and coming into alignment with Source, I'm really bringing that all home into you, each of us. And I'm the facilitator, that's all I am. I'm just the facilitator for Source to do its work. Because I've just learned how to access this realm of consciousness that because we're living in our human egoic state and believing we're separate from that Source, we don't realize how easily accessible it is to us. We go home and we kind of like watch TV and we pay our bills and we have to live our lives, and we're not taking time, most of us humans aren't taking time on a daily and regular basis to access that frequency, but it is available to all of us. And the more clear we are, and the more aligned these different bodies are within us, energy bodies, all levels and all layers, the more aligned we are, the more clear and pure our connection with that Source is, the more able we are to access that Source. Does this make sense to everybody so far? Yeah. So I've been doing this for 20 years with humans and animals, and I'm using tools, right? I use certain tools of what I call consciousness. So I use direct channeling. What is a channel? Channel is somebody who can actually step out of their human ego perspective and directly get information from Source. There's different kinds of channels, but so I can get direct information from Source, ascended masters, the angelic realm, star family races. Anyone familiar with star family races in this room? No? Okay. It's kind of progressive stuff. So that's one of the ways, and also, of course, there's many ways as a healer with different modalities, an intuitive. You could use the word psychic, but I don't like that word as much because it implies that I'm going to predict something for you or tell you something that you don't know, where really what I'm doing is just accessing a field of consciousness that's meant to serve and support you on your journey and help you live your best life. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. So I work with humans and animals too. So, okay, but today we're going to talk primarily about the DNA. So and if we are lucky, I need to get my clock here in front of me. If we are lucky, we have maybe, I can pull off, maybe 10 minutes to give you a quick activation. 10 or 15 for lucky, so I watch my time. So, okay, let's talk about the DNA. How many strands of DNA do we have? Don't be shy, you guys, come on, you know. Okay, we definitely know in the physical world we have two. You guys are so cute. We have two strands in the physical world. Mark Becker! Hello, Mark. You guys, Mark Becker does the expo in Boca this next, say it real fast, Mark. All right, afterwards.
It's the New Life Expo.
Okay. Yeah, the New Life Expo. You guys should come to that too. Okay, so. All right, so where was I? Okay, so we know we have two strands of DNA. Now here's the thing with the first two strands of DNA. Every human's operating with two strands of DNA. Those two strands of DNA are physical. They're scientifically real and valid. We get tested. We look for stuff in the DNA. Doctor might tell you something about your DNA, like you have a propensity for breast cancer, or you have diabetes in your family lineage, or Alzheimer's, or who knows what, right? That's stored up in the first two strands of DNA. In my language, what we call those records. Those are records. Why are they records? Why are they records? Because they're information about our ancestors. So if your ancestors carried certain energy in some of their bodies, remember what we said, the different bodies, mental, emotional, physical, those are primary ones, spiritual, energetic, all these bodies, right? In the unconscious, related to any one of those diseases, it would be stored up as a record in the first two strands. Does this make sense? We can detect it in the physical world. Yes? Everyone with me?
Yeah.
All right, so the thing is, those records, those first 2 strands, you can come in. We're just getting started. It's the DNA, if that's where you want to be. Those first 2 strands of DNA are actually corrupted. And we don't call it that. We don't use that word. But they indicate areas of death, disease, illness, suffering, right? Problems, right? We actually go looking for it to make sure, you know, like Angelina Jolie, she found breast cancer. What'd she do? She sliced off her breasts. This is a good example, right? Does this make sense to everybody? But what I would say is that what's anchoring that into the DNA is a record from history, yes? So a record from history, from your ancestors, is now stored up in your own DNA so you can know kind of like where you came from and what you may have to deal with. Make sense? Okay. Now, how many strands of DNA are there besides the first 2 that are basically not worked with? They're called junk. Do we know?
10.
Okay, that's correct. There are at least 10 more strands of DNA that science, credible scientific journals, have already published as junk. Now, in 2012, they started saying, no, they're not junk, they're dormant. Which means, what does dormant mean? Sleeping. So what happens with inactive? So if something's sleeping, what does that mean? It can be awakened. Exactly. So, first of all, what is in those 10 strands of DNA? Does anyone know? Okay, I'm going to give you some food for thought. First of all, initially, what's in the next 10 strands of DNA is everyone is intuitive. Everybody has the ability to access their source. What is this source? What is this source? Whether you religious is not the issue here. I'm not even challenging religious beliefs. I'm just simply saying this source, however we define it, is infinite love, infinite peace, infinitely conscious and aware, omnipotent, omnipresent. So if it is omni, infinite, then it's in every one of us, yes? Then it's everywhere. It's actually in the chairs and in the space between us, right? Make sense? So this source then, aspects of this source and the awakening of this source, unlimited potential, it's within that DNA. We have to access it. Until we do, we're just, you know, humans walking around in bodies thinking we're separate from everybody. Make sense? So everybody's intuitive. Everybody can start accessing this source of infinite love, infinite wisdom, infinite consciousness, infinite abundance, infinite prosperity, infinite, and even pure allowance and acceptance. So if someone's infinitely bad, that's their free will choice. They can be infinitely bad, so-called bad. We can use that word, but we'll just use it for... So we understand that in the dormant DNA, what we're talking about is awakening that part of us that has all these gifts, talents, and abilities. Like we're all intuitive, we're all incredibly brilliant, we all have the capacity to live our highest and best life, we all have the capacity to restore ourselves to health and well-being on all levels and all layers. There's no such thing as disease once we start getting through these DNA strands. Illness, that starts to go away. Everybody's psychic, everybody's a healer. Everybody can communicate telepathically, and even more. We don't even know, because science right now is still studying these DNA strands and trying to figure out what they're good for. Make sense? Everyone with me? Questions? All right, so let's go back to the first two strands of corrupt DNA, and then we're going to talk about the other 10. So, the first two strands of corrupted DNA, the reason I say they're corrupted is because they're storing these records of the pain and suffering of our ancestors. So let's give an example. Give me one dis-ease that one person might have in the room.
Breast cancer.
Breast cancer. Okay, this is going to be an expansion of consciousness, so I get that I'm about to push some boundaries here of what our current knowing. And just before I say that, let me just tell you the one thing I love more than anything, for me, I love accessing the non-physical realm for information and energy associated with love, peace, joy, happiness, bliss, etc., and bringing it into the physical world. So I love going into the unknown realm. So I realize that a lot of what I'm saying today is completely unknown to most of humanity. I get it. So this is going to push the limits on the breast cancer thing. So the breasts have to do with nurturing, yes, and mothering. Can we agree? Mm-hmm. And when cancer happens, what's happening is there's some dense, heavy, stuck energy. Can we agree? And that dense, heavy, stuck energy, how does it get there? Stored in the DNA as a record. How does it get there? Stress. Yes, buildup. Buildup. And stress can create and cause and contribute to the buildup. But here's what happens in the lineage, because we're talking about the lineage. Somewhere in the past, a mother, a mother's mother, a grandmother's grandmother, had some form of density around the mothering. And she passed it down to her daughter, to her daughter's daughter. And that density is going to have something to do with this. Now, side note, right? What is lightness? That infinite, omnipotent, omnipresent source. What is it? It's frequency of energy. It vibrates to a frequency that feels like, to us, feels like love, peace, happiness, and joy. Let's just say, for relevant, it's somewhere here. Feels really good. You know when you're in the presence of love, don't you? You know when you're around joyful people. You know when you're having a joyful experience. You know when you're blissed out. Right? Okay. Now, in that state, that frequency range, there's no tension. There's no tightness. There's no blockage. It's all flow. Yes? Now, let's talk about cancer or any disease. There's a tension. There's a tightness. There's a constriction. There's a contraction. There's a blockage. How does that happen? What creates it? What's the field of energy that vibrates to? Anger, resentment, judgment, blame. Can we understand this? So that's what's going on. So there's a thought in the brain, somewhere in the ancestry. I wasn't a good enough mother, or my mother wasn't good enough to me. I'm angry at my mother, or my daughter's not good to me. Something on the mothering line starts somewhere in the ancestry as a thought, becomes a repeating pattern. The body, emotional body, gets triggered by the thought. Can we understand this? Yeah. You think about a pineapple. Don't think about an elephant. It doesn't matter. Either way, you have a thought. Now, if we really get slow on this and we get conscious, if I say think about a pineapple and you like a pineapple, you start to be like, some part of your body, feel it now, be like, yum. If you don't like a pineapple, some part of your body will go, right? Body's having a response. This is an emotional response. It's an energetic response, right? Now let's go back to the breast cancer. Somewhere there's an emotional response. So pissed at my mom, she wasn't a good enough mom. I'm so pissed at myself, I wasn't a good enough, whatever the language was through the ancestry. And then it gets passed down. Your mother was a bad mother to me. Or something along those lines, generation to generation, shows up as a record in the DNA. So what we call that is a belief system that's now unconscious because you might have had a great relationship with your mother. But somehow, Angelina Jolie may, I don't even know her history, and we're using her as an example because she's a public figure, may have had a great relationship. I don't know what her story is, but you can see that, but in fact, I don't think she did have a good relationship with her mom, if I remember. The point is, that's an example. It gets held up as a belief system. The belief, that's a recreating belief, creates an emotional response in the body. The emotional response in the body, if it's done over time, creates a density. I'm angry, I'm pissed, I'm mad, that wasn't right, she didn't do well to us. Something like that creates a blockage in the flow of love, peace. Can we see this? Yeah. This is the root cause of every disease, and of course, in the first 2 strands of DNA, it's stored as a record. Make sense? Everyone with me? Okay. So, sorry, I'm going to grab some water. Here's the amazing thing. It can be cleared out. This is what science doesn't know yet. Science has not validated this, not Western science anyway, not modern medical science. But if you can go into that energetically and change the belief on an unconscious level and replace it with a higher belief, more associated with peace, love, bliss, creator's consciousness, that creator's consciousness can clear out a dense, heavy belief that's not even really necessarily yours if it's in the first two strands. Clear that belief out, clear the channel, pull everything, all the energy and the entanglements of it, and replace it with, you know what, I'm a good mom, or, hey, I'm proud of the way I've mothered, or I've learned to mother myself. All these other kinds of beliefs that are more aligned with peace and love. So, and joy, etc. So that these records that are just energetic encodements in the DNA, they can be cleared. Can we understand this? Does anyone think this is crazy, woo-woo? Okay. Now, that's just the first two strands. Now here's the thing. What's the gateway to the other 10 strands? In order to get to the other, well, you're not far off. She said spirituality. You're not far off. The other 10 strands, you can't access them until you get one particular gene activated. And it exists in every human and animals, but it's a gene that needs to be actively engaged. Anyone want to guess?
Love.
Love's a good one. No, it's compassion. Compassion. So we become obligated, in a sense, in order to heal ourselves or even heal one another, certainly to access that other 10 strands, we become obligated to have our energy aligned with compassion. It's almost like that's the gateway between these denser, heavier energies and these lighter energies. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So as we become more compassionate species, that opens like a portal in our own DNA. We're using the word portal, that's not the right portal. That's not the right word, it's more genetic codes, programming to access the other 10 strands. By the way, there's a lot more than 10 strands, but I'm just working right for the purposes today with what we know is real and scientific. But there are way more strands than the first 10. It's just that science hasn't been able to discover them. They can't see them with a physical microscope that they use. They need a new kind of technology. All right. Okay, so once we start engaging with the other 10 strands, that's when we can start clearing other things out and actually awakening what's good, what's desirable to us. Does this make sense? And all of those things that we're awakening are going to correspond to this higher frequencies of peace and love and joy and abundance for all, wellness for all, goodness for all. This is like the whole purpose of what we call this current spiritual movement on planet Earth. If you're seeing it, is anyone seeing it kind of awaken more? It's like, this is called, who knows the word ascension? Okay. There is an ascension going on planet Earth. Not according to a a Bible or a text. Not that that's incorrect. What I'm saying is the ascension that's happening is the awakening of humanity, where we are actually all becoming more compassionate and recognizing that we're all connected. Because understand, if this source is omnipresent, omni-love, omni-joy, that means there's nowhere that it's not even the space between us. This apparent space between us that only our eyes can't quite see, right? We don't know, we can't see whatever might be between us because we see nothing. And yet we know even in quantum physics that there's energy connecting, frequencies of energy that are connecting us. And then actually if I send you love and compassion right now energetically, that in a moment you would feel it. You would actually start to feel it. If I just radiated love and joy at you and sent that to you, you would start to feel even happier, right? All right, okay. So that's ascension. It's the awakening of humanity, and it's a little more complicated than I'm making it, but for the purposes of time, linear time, I just want to make that clear. So the idea here is that with the ascension, we can access these other 10 strands and start awakening everything that's been lying dormant within us. Yeah, this is the whole thing about the DNA. Make sense? And I want to explain. Does anyone have any questions? Never enough time. Do I have until 2 o'clock?
Almost. 5 to.
Is it?
How do you change your brain process to think of positive when there's something negative?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So number one is, this is the thing. There's what we have in our brain. This is part of what I'm going to talk about. It's in our DNA, but it's in our unconscious. We have sometimes looping programs. Think of your brain like a massive computer. And if like your computer has got Excel on it, or numbers, or Word, That program is running, even when it's off. It's storing your spreadsheets and your Word documents, even when it's not turned on. It's running, it's storing it there. And if it's a virus on your computer, you don't even know why your computer's running slow. In fact, you might not even know until somebody comes in and goes, hey, there's a virus on your computer, let me clean it up. Then it's cleaned up and you're like, oh my God, this is running so much faster, I didn't even realize. Well, that's what's happening with humanity right now. So the unconscious brain is carrying beliefs and belief systems, and they run in looping patterns that go over and over and over again. And if you're wise to your own thoughts, and if you're listening, you'll catch yourself and you'll be like, I keep thinking about this over and over and over again. If you're not wise, you kind of don't notice it. You smush it down in the unconscious and it turns into a disease of some kind, or stress or anxiety or something like that. Yes? So how do you do it? Part of it, number one, is by becoming more conscious. People are not being trained on planet Earth right now to pay attention to what we think. We're being dumbed down on planet. We have been. Go sit in front of a TV, sit behind a computer. That's how humanity's been trained. So it's up to us to, number one, become more conscious. Number two, the way we do it, this is what I do, because it's not a pill. We have to stop thinking that there's a pill that's going to fix it. There is no pill that's going to fix this. All pills do is put Band-Aids on. Pills are Band-Aid and cover up the problem until it resurfaces again, even worse later, along with 20 other problems that make it more worse. But this is about going into that unconscious, and this is what I'm saying. This is the work that I do. I'm working with Source. I'm getting a person or a group into a state of peaceful, harmonious frequency, which is usually what I equate to a theta brainwave. In that state, there's very little resistance, but it's not resistance, it's more like, yes, I really want to receive. I am ready to allow something better. And then Source is doing this. I'm listening to my guidance, whether it's from Source or angels or star beings, which I didn't define that in this group because of time. But it's saying, okay, this person has a belief system that their mother was bad to them, or that they were a bad mother, or they didn't get good parenting, and they don't know how it feels to be loved and nurtured, and they're angry that they didn't get their nurturing. Let's clear all of that out. Just tell them that that's what we're going to do, because I have to follow the law of free will. Source follows that law of free will. There is a universal law of free will. So that's really how I do it. Hypnosis functions in a similar way, but I'm using it in a spiritual approach, because hypnosis, they can't get the information for you. Whereas I'm getting the information from Source, and Source is saying, this person has this going on in their unconscious. They've been unaware or semi-aware of it. Let's get their consent, and let's clear it. Does this make sense? And then we replace it with a whole new set of beliefs. For example, our reality right now, I'm going to talk about some of the programs that are running in the unconscious of all of humanity. One of the most common ones is called Divide and Conquer. Divide and Conquer is a program just like Excel on a computer. Here's what Divide and Conquer looks like in one example. You're a Republican, I can't talk to you. I'm a Democrat. Divide and Conquer. I'm an American, you're a Russian. Divide and Conquer. Separation. You're white, I'm black. Divide and conquer. It's all over humanity. I'm a woman. Speak up for women. You're a man. Down with the men. That's divide and conquer. Can you see this keeps us in separation? Because if Source, if infinite love, infinite health, infinite wellness, infinite abundance is one with all that is, completely accepting everyone and everything, regardless of our choices, of our free will choices in the physical world, to have experiences of our choosing, either conscious or unconscious. And let's face it, what's in that unconscious is the problem. What's in the unconscious is what's driving us and we don't even realize. So if we're separate from that Source, Divide and Conquer program is going to keep us in separation. Can we understand? That's going to block us from this frequency. That needs to be cleared from the unconscious. People don't even know they have it. Okay, here's another one. Someone in the front or somewhere near has heart issues. Who's got heart issues in the room? Okay, that's further back than I thought. But anyway, so I can feel that. What's that?
Mitral valve.
Oh, there. That's what it is. Hard to breathe. I can feel it. I'm a total empath. So heart stuff is linked always to love. The exchange of love and compassion, feeling loved. The exchange of that, has it been a free-flowing exchange of love, compassion, understanding in your life? And somewhere in your unconscious, and likely you're somewhat conscious of it, you're out of alignment with that knowing, with that experience, free-flowing exchange of love, understanding, compassion. Right? So the heart is holding up and storing up that information. It's also stored in the DNA, of course, your own DNA, your own record of your life. And it's just waiting. The body's saying you need to pay attention to this. And Source is infinitely available to you. But the thing is, if we're all walking around in separation, you don't know that's available to you. And the doctors don't know this stuff because they're not studying spiritual practice. They're studying a program based in separation. Does this make sense? Okay, I hope that makes some sense. But it can be cleared and resolved rather quickly. So, okay, so I'll give you some more that are sitting there. Gender confusion programs. So are we seeing an explosion of people walking around Earth right now who don't know what gender they are? Public figures who are literally slicing off their genitals for gender confusion issues. I'm not judging anyone. In fact, I think we need to accept everyone, and that's, of course, what we're learning through this, acceptance of everyone's choices. But we can see that if we're aligned with Source, we would not have confusion about what kind of body we belong in or what kind of gender we are. What are our, that's a gender identity issue. So this is not, there's no wrongness in any of this because we've been living in a world of separation. If we're separated, of course, thoughts and experience that we can have. There's no wrongness. It's just that that's a program running in the unconscious. The people who are going through that are unconscious of the fact that that's something they're dealing with because it's unconscious. Does this make sense? Gender confusion. It's a program running in the unconscious. Now, most people would say, I don't want to clear it. That's okay. It doesn't mean you have to change yourself in any way. It's just that the aspects of whatever are not working for you, whoever you are, where you're out of alignment with love, peace, harmony, joy, if you're confused about anything, that's a separation and there's a program running. Make sense? Okay. Challenging belief systems here? How you guys all doing? Questions?
How do you get the step DNA
Well,
chart or whatever?
it's not a chart.
Was it a swab or something?
No, no, no. This is non-physical. So when what you're coming from, and you're not wrong, you're coming from a physical perspective. And in the physical world that we've all been living in, that's what we do. We take a swab to get our DNA. But I'm working with the non-physical realm. So in the non-physical realm, I can go in with someone's consent and locate what's in their DNA, what needs to be rightly aligned, cleared out, resolved, and realigned with that source. Make sense? I'm just explaining some of the stuff that's in the DNA. But if you know that you're ever in separation, anywhere you ever, for example, judge someone else who's different from you, we all do it. That's divide and conquer. That's a program running in the human genome, and it's based in what I call the third dimensional reality, the physical world that we live in. If we want to connect more with our spiritual self and our alignment with that peace, love, joy, happiness, bliss, harmony, love, kindness, compassion, for all beings, then we need to identify all these programs that are stored in our DNA and our unconscious so that we can clear them out. Divide and conquer is just one of them. Does this make sense? Gender confusion is just another one. All the diseases are another. Now, let me give you some good news. In the DNA, there are also, this beyond the first two strands, programs for, first of all, there's one called, has anyone ever heard of the Kadmon body? Okay, good. So the Kadmon body is a program in the DNA. It's dormant for most people. And what that program, once it's activated, allows for is more reunion with the soul. So most people right now, they don't really know this, right? We all have a soul. A soul is our source, our high, we can call it sometimes our higher self, our God self, our inner source, right? Our whatever word we use. But we have a soul who has traveled through many, many incarnations, infinite, however long we've been, fractaled from this original source, right? And that soul is connected to us. Well, the Kadmon body actually allows us to invite more of it in. So I can test for almost anyone in this room, and we can find out how much of your embodiment of your soul is in you. Otherwise, it's with you. It's just not as fully in your physical form. It's on those other layers, right? Your emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic self, all those other layers. Well, the Adam Kadmon body allows you to pull more of your soul self in. The average person on planet Earth right now, if they don't ever meditate, is walking around with about 10 to 15% soul embodiment. That's not that much. But that's great room for leeway, because that means we all have so much more we can pull in. This is muscle testing. Who knows muscle testing? It's easily testable by muscle testing. You can find out how much is in there. And this is part of working with the soul, clearing out the old corrupted programs and inviting in and awakening these new programs. For example, the Adam Kadmon body. Everyone with me on that? Okay, here's another one. There's another program in the 10 strands that's dormant called the Original Divine Blueprint. It's a program, just like on your computer has programs. Just like you could have a million different apps, but if you don't really have it on yet, it's on the cloud, but it's not on your computer yet, right? So we have one called the Original Divine Blueprint. What's the Original Divine Blueprint? Does anyone know? Yes, the Original Divine Blueprint. You know how you have a thumbprint and no one else has the same thumbprint of you? Your Original Divine Blueprint is unique to you. There's one that's collective for the whole human species, and then there's subparts of them, other divine blueprints in our DNA that are unique to you. It has anyone looking for your perfect soul mission? Anyone interested in discovering your soul mission? Okay, well, it's got it in there. It has everything you're meant to, and the Original Divine Blueprint does not include sickness. It does not include disease. That is not normal. See, in our separation, we've come to believe that's normal. It's not normal. So I'm standing here saying something that we've believed is normal is not normal, and I'm the one who sounds whack, but really, in truth, it's just a matter of awakening this blueprint, because after this blueprint is awakened, it's like you start knowing. You're no longer believing, you're knowing, because it's in you. It's a code. Once it gets activated, it's like, oh my God, I'm getting healthier. I'm getting younger. I'm getting stronger. Is this possible? I'm getting older, and yet, oh, by the way, aging, that's another program. I know that's out there, right? It's out there. I get it. It's out there. Anyone in here vegetarian or vegan? A couple?
Some.
Okay, well, this one's going to really push the limits of people, but eating a dead animal is a program. In fact, this is really out there. The need to eat is a program. So actually, as you become more aligned with Source, you start realizing you can actually, who knows about Breatharianism? You can breathe prana, life force, energy. There are people who live on breath. Sun gazing, anyone heard of that? I love it in Florida. I do use the sun all the time. I feed off of the sun because I can use the light of the sun to nourish my body. So, but you have to, this is part of, like, if you're over here in a lot of separation, of course that sounds absurd. But the more of this DNA, the Original Divine Blueprint, is activated in this case, the more you start to know the truth of who you are. It does not require death, disease, or dying. Even the dying part, it's like you just accept it, but you also know you have a choice over how and when it happens. It's a totally different experience. So for example, here, another program running in the unconscious and in the DNA, and then we're just going to do some. I'm just going to stop talking in 3 minutes, if I can, is another program running in the unconscious here is that when someone dies, they leave, and we don't know what happens to them, and we suffer great, great loss and grief. Of course we do. We all have had, I mean, I don't have to ask, right? Everybody's lost someone, even if it's an animal that they truly have loved. And that grief is just devastating, right? And I'm never, ever, like, same thing with all this stuff. It's never to judge any of that, because those experiences are real. However, if we clear the program, the perspective and the experience changes. Death and dying is a program. So when we clear that and we replace it with Creator's truth, the highest, clearest, purest truth on something, our perspective completely changes. And then it doesn't become, it's not about the pain and suffering. Yes, there's still going to be a loss, but it's totally different. It's where we start recognizing this person has shifted out of a physical reality and into a non-physical, and I can still connect with them. I can still have a direct experience. And the pain and the grief and the loss is not as traumatic. But that's a death and dying program. Okay, there's lots more. This is the big thing, is that we don't know that they're operating. And the vast majority of humanity is just starting to wake up to this stuff now. So it sounds so crazy woo-woo that it's so out there, but in reality, the future of humanity, as far as I can see it, and I think I have a really good visionary viewpoint, is one where there is no more sickness, no more illness. Death and dying becomes more of a conscious choice that we're ready to move on to some other experience. There's no more separation. There's more and more alignment with this divine source of infinite love, infinite light, infinite presence, infinite consciousness, abundance and prosperity for all, because that is available to us. Everything is available to us. But we have to become conscious. It's up to us to reprogram our thoughts, clear out old beliefs, get rid of the corrupted, inorganic, unnatural programs in the DNA from our ancestors. They just lived in separation too, but we're going through an ascension, right? And then replace it with higher, clearer, purer knowings, alignment with this source, so that we start to realize the truth of who we are, and that is we are the embodiment of source. Anyone in here who's a spiritual person, a religious person? Religious with, no? But, you know, because that's one thing I know Jesus did say, you know, you're God, so am I, we're all God. So that's that word God, but I just use the word source because it's a little more neutral, right? Okay, is this helpful to you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good, yes.
A question, how does merging with the higher self work with activating the DNA strands?
When your higher self starts to embody, there's codes in your DNA. So every time you're pulling in more of your higher self into your body, that's a light being. It's your light body. It's that aspect of you that's made of light. Light in terms of rays of light, colors of light, but also light in terms of lightness, the lightness. As you pull that in, this is naturally awakening a lot of that dormant DNA. But you have to do it consciously. This is a huge part of what I do. I do this by webinar, online, and that's why I invited everyone to the Jupiter gifted event that I do at Jupiter Unity Church, because we do this kind of stuff there, and it's free for the community as a way to expand consciousness and help be of service. So you're welcome to come there. I mean, everyone's invited, and you get to experience it. And did we do the, are you passing around?
Has everyone gotten to sign the clipboard?
Okay, you're supposed to be walking with it.
No, we've done it, but just...
Okay, so because what's going to happen is, as long as you give us your email and as long as we can read it, I'm going to send you a gifted DNA activation. That you can't get on my website unless you actually give me your email address. So you can experience it for yourself, and once you have the recording of it, you can do it as often as you want. And it just goes deeper every time. Because you understand, the activation is coming from source frequency. It's just up to us to put ourselves in a receiving state, which sometimes we call a meditative state, but I'm running out of time, but I'm going to try to do it here, at least for a minute, because you can only activate so much so fast. Your body can't handle it. Otherwise, you get what I call floppy fish syndrome. What's that? Right? I mean, in my early days of connecting with Source and doing this work, I would go home every night like this, like I just couldn't, my body couldn't handle it. But now, the more you do it, the more you become aligned with that frequency. That's the vibration, the energy that your body's holding and emanating. And you understand that the more we align with Source, the more, I'm going to use the word power that we have, but I don't mean power to harm anyone or do anything or control over. I mean to make the world the place we all are dreaming it to be, where nature is healed. Like those are everything that's in our dormant DNA are the solutions to the world's problems. Somewhere in your dormant DNA, you're storing up solutions to the world's some problem. What your soul mission is here to resolve. Now, I don't know what that is for you, but it's going to have something to do with you fulfilling your greatest happiness and joy in living your best life, whatever it is for you as a unique person. It's not about sitting behind the TV and drinking a beer and then turning on a computer game. You know what I mean? It's like about living life. And that's what's waiting in there. So every time we activate, we get to do a little more, more gets revealed, we integrate. Make sense? Everyone with me? Okay, so as long as I have your email address and I can read it, I will send you that. And of course, you're welcome. The flyers are here. I'll just tell you real fast before we do the meditation, because after that. These are the free gifts you can get on the website if you register. My website is lorispagna.com/free gifts. You get a free class on learning about accessing your psychic abilities. You get a free class on learning about what a starseed is, Lightworker. I mentioned those words earlier. We don't have time for it today. You'll get a free class about what the dormant DNA is, like more than what we even can cover here. And a lot of stuff for animal lovers, how to heal your animals and work with your animals. Animal lovers in here? Okay. Also, there's a flyer here about all the online classes and courses I teach. There's also a flyer here for the Sacred Retreat. I do a crystal journey. We work with the crystals. They store up records as well. I don't have time to go into it. And then if you really want to go deep, there's a membership group here and a special flyer. You can get the online membership. There's hundreds of hours of content, meditations and activations in there. So you can pick that up on the way out at the end. Okay, so any questions before we're going to do this real quick? No? Okay, I have about 10 minutes, I think. Really quick. Hey, can we close that door? All right, I want you guys, if you want to do this, we're just going to do like a quick activation. It'll probably be for, I'll listen. But your job is to get really quiet and peaceful. So here's what I want you to do. Take some long, deep, slow breaths. So start the breath at the nose and feel the breath slow, long, and deep as it comes back into the back of your brain, goes into the brain. And then feel the breath. You're still breathing long, slow, deep. Your own pace, of course, but as long, slow, deep, and comfortable as you can. Let the breath come down into the throat and feel it. Let your eyes close if you feel comfortable. Feel the breath go into the throat. Feel that same breath travel into the heart. So you're literally feeling the oxygen as you breathe it in long, slow, deep, and let yourself relax. Feel the breath travel into the belly. Feel the breath travel down into the reproductive center, and feel it go into the tailbone. And when you're ready, you can just exhale. Long, slow exhale. You guys are doing great. And then when you're ready, you breathe again. Same way, long, slow, deep. And let yourself relax. If the body needs to move, to relax, let it. If head needs to stretch or anything, so you can get yourself as relaxed as possible and just keep breathing long, slow, deep, comfortable breaths. One more piece I'd like you to add, and that is to start to identify the breath not so much as oxygen, but rather a frequency of love and a frequency, an energy of peace. So as if now what you're doing is actually calling in the energy of peace and the energy of love into your nose. Slow, long, deep, into the brain. Feel it with your body now. You can feel it. Your eyes are closed. You can feel this breath of love and peace coming in your body. You can feel how it's subtly shifting you into a state of homeostasis, which is balance. The body comes into balance when you breathe long, slow, deep breaths. And then travel that peace and love into the throat. You feel your throat expand. You're just getting comfortable in your own rhythmic breathing. Feel that breath go from the belly, from the throat to the heart. And feel all that peace and love fill up the heart, fill up all the chest, even the back, the arms, the shoulders. And keep deep, deep breathing, even slower now, down into the belly, the love and the peace, filling up all the organs in the belly center. Often referred to as the third chakra. This energy center controls all the organs of that part of the body. So just breathe some love and peace to all your organs in there. And then travel down. If you need to breathe deeper, fuller, whatever's comfortable for you. Deep, full, long, slow breaths. Big breaths, comfortable breaths, now down into the reproductive. Feel that part of your body relax and expand with the love and the peace that you're breathing in. And then down into the buttocks again. Filling up and relaxing that area. Now, any part of your body that needs some extra love or peace, just breathe to that area. and expand the breath of your love and your peace into any area of your body. There's no way to do this wrong. You're just breathing, and you're just using your mental awareness to notice your own body and feel your own body and breathe love and peace so that everywhere in your body gets to feel it. Cells, protons, neutrons, electrons, atoms, particles, subatomic particles now, all expanding now with the breath of love. Divine Source, Creator, God of all that is, right here, right now. Now hear me now, you're going to give consent. I'm going to say the words first. If you don't want something, you just say no, thank you. If you do want it, you say yes, please, or yes, thank you. And you can say it out loud. You just keep breathing. Source, Creator, God of all that is, highest, clearest, purest, original source of creation, consciousness, infinite love, infinite light, infinite wisdom. Let each being here now who consents receive the maximum benefits which serve, support, and assist them in the highest and best and most benevolent ways and with harm to none. Let this be done now for all those who give consent, both live and in delayed playback. Let the energy be live throughout all time, space, dimensions, directions. And so it is. You're breathing now. And what I'd like you to do, since you're nice and relaxed, is drop all of your consciousness into your heart. Drop down as if all of you is falling into the core of your heart. That's where all your love is. That's where your consciousness exists. It's all waiting for you there. And you guys are just doing so perfectly. There you go, nice. And you just breathe. You're going to feel a little lightheaded maybe. If you do, just drop down into the heart. You're safe. Everything's fine and well. Might feel differently, but it's just the energy of love lightening you up and the energy of peace. So just keep dropping into the heart and at the same time breathe deep, full, comfortable, whenever, however feels right to you. Divine Source, Creator, God of all that is, right here, right now. What goes first? For this group, here now, for the maximum benefits. Okay, we're going to awaken that compassion gene. Everyone's got it and everyone has used it. We just want it to be open even more. That's what Source is saying. So for you, right here, right now, if you're willing to consent, you just say yes, please. You take another breath, and I get out of the way and get silent. Source is activating and awakening the compassion gene within you. It's been there all along. It's just waiting to be activated. It's not that you've never used it. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. This will also help and support with any and all heart-related issues, as well as all other issues of physical and emotional health and well-being. If you're willing now, give your consent, let it be done, and so it shall be. So you want to say yes, thank you, if you're wanting this, yeah? It's only as is for your highest and best with harm to none, and only as is uniquely appropriate to you, whoever you are, your body, your being, right? Yes. Now you're just breathing, notice whatever you notice. Just notice. You may think you notice nothing. There it goes, nice. Even if you think you're just noticing yourself breathing, that's fine. Notice yourself receiving, breathing, sitting, allowing. Nice. Mother Mary's here, Kuan Yin's here, Mary Magdalene's here. We have 3 divine goddesses here, assisting with the awakening of the compassion gene within each and every one of you. Let it be known here that at any time, at any point in your life, whenever you feel the need for compassion, understanding, forgiveness, of course, you are always welcome, even invited to call upon us as you know us well. Divine Mothers. The 3 divine mothers, they go together well. Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Mary of Magdalene. Always here and available to all living beings, regardless of creed, species, race, identity, gender. We are always here in loving light, holding space of compassion, love, and forgiveness for you, available to you at any time. This is here now said, and so it is. Yes, so it may seem strange to think that the consciousness of Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Kuan Yin, who's another goddess of compassion, are here now, but actually they are, just in the non-physical realm, recognizing us here as we invited compassion. So now we're going to go to the next appropriate codons. Yes. Next appropriate codons in your DNA. Normally I would take questions, and I'm hearing to take questions, but I lost my space here. But I think in the interest of time I don't have, because you could request healing, so we could request healing. Okay. We're going to have Source do one quick, it says it will do one quick healing with your consent and then do the DNA codons. So any and all density, dross, heaviness, sadness, grief, anger, regret, suffering, remorse, sorrow, resentment, disappointment, lower vibrational frequency energies, which may be in and around you, which maybe you've experienced, which you are done and complete with, which no longer serve, support, and assist you, or your highest and best, which are not beneficial to you. At this time, if you're willing to surrender them, give your consent. You say yes, please, or yes, thank you, and take another deep breath and drop into the heart. With your consent, it shall be done. Yeah. Now you're just breathing and notice. Just notice. Nice. There. You may notice your heart beating a little faster. That's when you work with the light. The heart gets a little bit of a light workout. It's actually building the strength of your heart, your capacity to love. It's the light coming into your body. If you notice your heart speeding up a little teeny bit, that's perfectly normal and natural. Some of you may notice some tears coming out of your eyes. That's also part of the healing, perfectly normal and natural. Or you may notice nothing at all. That's okay. Let's do the DNA now. So we're going to do the next appropriate codons. You start small, which are uniquely appropriate for you, your body, and your being, and only that which is for your highest and best. For your body and being, your life you're living, with harm to none. If you're willing to receive this now, once again, you just breathe deep. Deep, long, slow breaths, and give your consent. Yes, thank you. Yes, please. Yeah. Yes. Just notice. This is the clearest, purest, most perfect, pure DNA. We'll do your original divine blueprint too. Clearest, purest, most perfect, divine human DNA. Codons from within you, awakening and activating to remember who you truly are, the embodiment of divine love, the embodiment of divine peace, the embodiment of the original source of creation in physical form. Breathe, receive, consent, and allow. Then we just do the last piece. Last piece, the original divine blueprint that's unique and appropriate for each individual and only as is for you as an individual, for your body and being, for your highest and best with harm to none. If you're willing to receive this now, breathe, consent, and allow. Let it be done. Just notice. You may think you notice nothing, that's okay. Okay, I'm done. Are they done? Yeah, just a moment. Just 30 seconds. Good, good. I got the joy tap. So we're good. Now you can just open your eyes whenever you're ready. If you feel a little lightheaded. How are you guys doing? Good. Do you like that? Yeah. Very cool, right?